Hello and welcome. And in this video, we are going to talk about another storage option for EC2. Okay. Uh, Previously, I explained you about EBS, but the problem with the EBS is it is not shared storage. Yeah, it is a multi-attach for some Nitro-based instance, but otherwise, when you are using a normal EC2 instance, you can attach them only with the one EC2 instance. Yeah, but here we are going to talk about shared storage. Yeah, it is a file-based storage and it is a really shared storage, so the multiple EC2 instance can able to access this. Okay, and the storage we called it EFS. It is elastic file system. Yeah, uh yeah, it is a shared storage. We called it file storage. Multiple EC2 instance can able to access data inside the EFS simultaneously. Yeah, but there is a one drawback that you have to remember. The drawback is you cannot able to use Windows instance with the EFS, and nowadays we can able to create Linux. We can able to create Apple instance as well. So you cannot able to connect Apple instance with the EFS. So exclusively we can say that EFS is for the Linux storage. Yeah, it is based on the NFS network file system, and we can use to access data from multiple Linux instances. Yeah, so let's start with the mind map. I'm going to explain you using mind map, and in this video we'll create a EFS volume as well. Okay, so yes, so here we have 4 points that we have to consider when we are learning about EFS. Okay, the first is like intro. EFS is again a file storage for EC2 instances, yeah, but Linux only. With EFS, storage capacity is elastic, growing or shrinking automatically as you add and remove files. So your application have the storage they need when they need it. Like you will get provisioning storage immediately. You will get storage, and you do not need to provision a fixed amount of size. Yeah. For example, when you are creating a volume, we have to provide them size. Like, okay, I want to create 20 GB volume. Here you do not. Okay, you will not provide any space. Yeah. Let me go to the my Amazon console and let me start creating EFS volume. Okay, so I'm going to open this into the new window. Just select EFS and okay. So right now I am in the EFS console and click on create file system, and it will create a new file system. Okay, now I'm going to give name over here is EFS new. Okay, you can give any name, and for which VPC I want to create, as we will learn VPC in upcoming sessions. So I'm not going to give anything over here. I'm going to use EFS like a default VPC option. Now if you want, you can click create over here, but it will create your volume with the default option. Okay, but if you want to understand like how it will works, okay, you can create a customization option. Okay, you can create a customization option. Now here is the setting that you can configure with your EFS. The matter over here is, see this, we don't have any size option over here. Yeah, we are creating EFS volume, but we are not providing any size because this is totally elastic. Okay, so whenever you will store the data, it will increase or it will grow, and if you delete the data, it will shrink automatically. Yeah, can be accessible from the multiple Linux instance or from on-premises Linux machine as well. Yeah, so if you have multiple EC2 instance, okay, a Linux instance, you can access the storage from your EC2 instance. And even if you have on-premises physical Linux instance or a virtual machine, but it must be Linux, you can access from your on-premises data center as well. Yeah, you may have a question like, okay, I'm having a Linux virtual machine or instance on premises and I want to access this EFS. How can I do this? For that, you have to configure VPN or private link. So we'll talk about this later, but yeah, keep this in mind that if you have on-premises servers and you want to store the data from on-premises server to EFS, you can do this as well. Okay, and because of this, I'm having two. See, if you verify over here to configure it practically, I'm having this two EC2 instances over here. So yeah, I'm having these two Linux instance, and we will use this instances to connect your EFS. Okay, yeah, so it is done. And now Amazon EFS is not supported by Windows and now Apple as well. Yeah, Okay, Mac as well. There. So these are the 4 points that you have to remember. Now let me go to the EFS again. Okay, and here we have these options. Okay, first of all, we have this EFS new. This is the name, and here we have this life cycle management. Okay, so before I explain you life cycle management, let me explain you the storage class. Okay, so here we have the second point, and it is about storage class. So in the Amazon EFS, you can able to store the data into the two storage class. One is a standard storage class and one is an infrequent access storage class. Okay, now standard storage is designed for active file system workload, and you pay only for the amount of the file system storage you use per month. Yeah, so when you are using standard storage, it is like a actual amount that whatever you store over there, and you have to pay for the storage. Yeah, and when you use infrequent, okay, it is a cost optimized. It is cost optimizing like a 90% for the file access, less it is for the less frequently. Yeah, if you are accessing file less frequently, you can use this infrequent storage class. Data stored on the infrequent access storage class costs less than the standard, and you will pay fees each time you read the data, read from or write to a files. Yeah, so this is a really interesting one. See, first is like a standard storage. Yeah, store your data, pay fees for the storage. Okay, now you can read unlimited time, you can write unlimited time. Okay, the another one is like infrequent access. Infrequent is like, we are already defining this is infrequent, right? So if you have data that you are storing, you are not writing it, you are not writing in this particular file, or you are not reading from this particular file. Yeah, so this is, we call it an infrequent data, we call it cold data as well. Okay, now the matter is, if you consider that this data is actually infrequent, yeah, the Amazon will cost you less. Okay, Amazon will cost you less, so you have to pay less money than the standard storage. Okay, now the matter is, when you access this infrequent data, you have to pay them. Okay, you have to pay them. So there is a differences between standard and infrequent access. Okay, standard, it is for the frequently accessed data, because when you access this data, you do not need to pay anything. Okay, you just need to pay for the storage fee. Yeah, but it is high. If you have a data that you are not accessing for every day, okay, you are not writing anything, or you are not reading anything from this data, you can consider this data as an infrequent access. Yeah, you have to pay less amount than the standard, but the matter is, when you will access this, you have to pay for a reading and writing. Okay, so now if you have infrequent data, you should store them into the infrequent storage access. Yeah, but do not store frequently accessed data into the infrequent access storage, otherwise you have to pay more money. Yeah, so this is the two storage class we are having. Now the question is like, how can I use this? Okay, so when you go and create Amazon EFS, okay, they have this life cycle management option. Now what is the meaning of this life cycle management is like, see, many time customer cannot able to identify that this data is my frequently accessed, or this data is like a infrequent access. Yeah, and if you are not able to verify your storage class, and if you are going to store data into the wrong storage, this will be problematic. Yeah, because you may have to pay more charges. Okay, so here they have one facility. The facility is like, okay, for example, if you have you saying that, okay, after 30 days move my data into the infrequent storage class. So what will happen, whenever you will store the file, okay, after 30 days it will forward, like it will move this file to the infrequent storage, and then you have to pay only for the infrequent storage class. Yeah, now if you are not sure about this, okay, if you are not sure about this, no problem, you can select no, and then you have to pay for the standard storage class only. Yeah, but yeah, if you have a access, if you have detail of your access pattern, like how your company works, which type of the data is cold, which type of data is hot. Hot means like a standard storage, in a frequent access, and cold means infrequent access, right? So in this case, you can use life cycle management. Yeah, this is like a better option, and according to Amazon, you can save 92% of the cost. Yeah, if you are using this. Okay, So this is the first option that you have to understand. And the one another option is like a performance. Yeah, performance in terms of the storage performance. So when you go over here, you will get two options like bursting throughput and provision throughput. Okay, here we have this option. Here we have this bursting throughput and provision throughput. Now what will happen over here? When you select bursting throughput, okay, you have to keep 2 points in mind. It is a default mode. See, right now I'm having this default mode. Okay, and there are no charges for the bandwidth or request. You get baseline rate of the 50 kbps per GB. Yeah, so there is no charges for bandwidth. Okay, but the matter is you will not get more than 50 kbps per second speed when you are accessing your storage per GB. Yeah, so for example, if you are storing 2 GB of data, you will get 100 kbps speed. Okay, then you do not need to pay extra money for accessing your storage. But you are saying that, hey, I want to access my files very quickly. No problem. You can use a provision throughput mode. Yeah, here we have this provision throughput mode. Okay, and here you can decide your requirement. Yeah, so if you are saying that, okay, I don't care, I want 200 kbps speed. Okay, so this is how you can set up. Okay, but here keep this in mind, you have to pay when you are accessing the provision mode and provision throughput for your file system independent the amount of the data store, and pay separately for the storage and throughput. Yeah, so here is like you are paying two amount. One is like storing the data, and if you want a high speed accessibility of the storage, you are paying them a independent amount for accessibility. Yeah, now see this, like maybe sometime it is happens like you have selected this provision as storage. Yeah, you just selected like, okay, I'm ready to pay for a 200 kbps. Okay, 200 megabits per second, I don't have any problem. But the matter is, if you are not utilizing this, if you are not utilizing it, is okay. If you are not utilizing this bandwidth, you just need to pay for your like you in this case you do not need to pay. Yeah, because like up to 50 kbps, if to up to 50 kbps you do not need to pay anything. Yeah, up to 50 kbps you do not need to pay anything, because even though you have this throughput mode, but after 50 kbps whatever you will utilize, then in this case you have to pay them a piece. Yeah, so this is how it works. Okay, I'm going to select this bursting, and here we have this another option is performance mode. Okay, general purpose. So when you are using general purpose, you will get a moderate performance. If you want high performance, you can select max IO. Yeah, so scale higher level and aggregation throughput and operation per second, you will get better speed. Okay, so right now I'm going to select general purpose. Another option is like backup. Okay, for example, if you want that let's EFS to back up my system automatically, you can use this as well. Okay, so you can select enable backup. If you not select, you can able to back up your data manually as well. Okay, so this is how it works. If you want to select encryption, you can select encryption as well. Again, same like EBS, it will encrypt my volume, and then it is like a secure. Yeah, so this is how it works. Now here we have all these options, and now I'm going to explain you these features. Yeah, I'm going to explain you like 7 features of EFS, and in the next video we'll create a lab for the EFS. Okay, so first is supported by NFS 4.0. This is EFS supported by NFS 4.0. You can pay only for the resources that you use. There is no minimum fees, there is no setup charges, right? Simply enable life cycle management for your file system, reduce your storage cost by up to 92%. Okay, this is as per the Amazon documentation. Can scale up to the petabyte. Can support 1000 of concurrent NFS connections, so you can connect 1000 of Linux instance and access your EFS concurrently. Data will be stored in multi-AZ, so you do not need to care about, like, you do not need to worry about the durability. Yeah, and read after write consistency. So read after write consistency means what? Whenever you will store the data, you can immediately write. Whenever you write the data, you can immediately read this. Yeah, so it will give you a better performance for the storage, and the biggest advantage, it is a shared storage. Yeah, now see, previously we learned about EFS. At that time we can understand that okay, we are using this to store the data. Now I explain you about EFS, which is a more better, and the advantage is you can able to access this from the multiple EFS, from multiple EC2 instance. Yeah, so how you can use this? Yeah, how you can use this? This is the big question over here. So in next video we are going to configure one EFS lab. Okay, in this particular lab I will explain you how you can create EFS volume, access them from the multiple EC2 instances. Of course it is a Linux instance. And how can you host website into the EFS and access this website from the multiple EC2 instances. Yeah, so this is the practical scenario, and you will understand that how we can work with the EFS. Okay, so that's all for this video, and if you have any question you can comment below. And yes, in the next video be ready for our lab session. Yeah, bye, see you in the next video.